Success. Great. Technology works after all. Thank you very much, CITA, for the invite. And as Sue has said there, Sean and I are here to present on behalf of Marks and Spencer. So yeah, it is a bit of a double act today. Some people refer to us as Hinge and Bracket. But my name is Johnny Allen, and I am the BIM Implementation Manager or Managing Partner for WDR and RT Taggart. And Sean is the BIM Implementation Manager. Contact details are there, but those are all available on our website or through LinkedIn. So who we are and what we do. We are a multidisciplinary practice, and we have appointments with M&S for architecture, engineering, and health and safety. Established in 1902, and I think at 5:30 this morning when the alarm went off, I felt I was established in 1902 as well. But we're best known for our commissions in the field of retail and commercial development, and that sort of in more recent years we have developed up to 3 million square feet of retail and commercial floor space. But getting directly to M&S, 2011 was a big year for us. We celebrated 25 years of working with M&S, with the first project being Sprucefield Shopping Centre in Lisburn. And we also, at that point in time, had completed 25 development stores within the previous 5 years. So that was all really celebrated at the supermarket conference, where we were exhibitors and sponsors, and M&S also spoke at that event. Why 2011? Well, that is really whenever the big question came up about BIM, and really had to ask ourselves, well, what is this BIM malarkey all about? And actually, the definition that James put up earlier is the same one that we use today. I think it's the best one for us, and I think M&S agree as well. I'll not read it out, but we just feel it ticks all the boxes. But it means a big change, and that's why the change is highlighted there in that sentence. It's a big change to people, process, and technology. So, we ask, well, if it's such a big change, why take the leap? But M&S and Taggart's recognise that BIM has the potential to revolutionise the construction industry, streamlining current processes, reducing waste, and enabling the delivery of a higher quality, higher value, sustainable products to end users. 2011, we thought, right, we better get our ducks in a row here. So we pulled together what's symbolised by the middle cog there, the T, as our Building Information Modelling Implementation team, which is headed up by myself and Sean. But we soon realised that we had to be very clear in our lines of communication, both internally with our various departments, that being, the architecture, structure, civil side of things, the different disciplines, but also IT, IMS, and then moving outside to the external side, clients, and a strong link there with Marks and Spencer. So we created various documents, policy documents, which is shown in the next slide, but we had a look at this and realised that as we implement BIM, we have to keep that business engine running in the top right-hand corner, because we can't exist unless we do that. But it's all about collaboration, cooperation, and coordination, both internally and externally. And without the collaboration, it's where it really starts to fall down. That is the biggest hurdle to overcome, is collaboration. So 2011, on the left-hand side, it's the Taggart documents, internal documents, all about the policies, or the actual business implementation strategy. All the questions that need to be answered, understanding where's the pain, how much is it going to cost, how many people we're going to take offline to get them trained up. At the same time, M&S were looking at their standard policy guides, so the Revit guide, Navisworks, their library content. So from 2011, we actually moved forward together in a way, and yes, there hasn't been a full, complete trial store completed, but we have been doing a number of exercises that we'll demonstrate later on in the presentation. But now, where we're currently at, is M&S are challenging the architects to see what we can bring to the table. So that's the sort of thing that we react well to. We like to pick up the ball and run with it. So again, we'll show you something, actually a Simply Food store that was handed over on Monday. But yeah, it's all about planning now, how we're going to make the next steps. So Plan A, doing the right thing, is Marks and Spencer's sustainability policy, but it's actually more than that. It's the way they do business. And in a couple of weeks, they will be launching the Plan A version 3, which will be known as Plan A 2020. And it will include a public commitment on BIM. So as far as ourselves are concerned, we do sit on the regional hub, the BIM regional hub steering group committee, and Sean and I presented in the Titanic building. And again, it was really trying to share the experiences that we have picked up, but trying to demonstrate the key benefits via case studies that we have experienced. So that is our learning ladder, if you like, and we feel that each of the benefits listed there, we've ticked the box right up to number 8, but we have a long way to go yet on number 9, which is really the holy grail. So the first one, as everyone knows, it's been around for 30 years. There's a young fella there sitting down in front of a computer 20 years ago. He's still with us. We were generating things in 3D then. So it's where everyone in the project team sees the building come to life with an improved collective understanding of design intent. That's the obvious one. 10 years later, taking a stage further, generating models and with fly-throughs. And then more recently, that is a render, I think taken straight out of Revit, Sean, isn't it, of a Durham store for M&S that we did last year. Just some more examples. On the right-hand side, that's actually commercial offices for land and property services. We'll do a fly-through on that right at the very end, just as we're closing out. But again, on the left, it's a visualization where it's a big thing for retailers and store planners, and it helps the clients explore spatial requirements and potentially reducing client variations in scope creep. Some more examples. That's actually a new retail facade for Primark in the centre of Belfast that we use the technologies to demonstrate the design to the minister for planning service to try and speed up the planning process, which was successful. But then moving forward to the new technologies, the likes of, as James had said earlier, Autodesk 360 Glue and Field. That's an example, actually, if you've ever been to the Titanic building, that's a bit like a mission room there where you can experience going up through the Titanic ship itself in virtual reality. And we're working very closely with precision surveys and technologies like Unity and Oculus Rift. So we have managed to get Paul Glynn, the head of architecture, to sit down and have a look through one of his stores using the Oculus goggles there in February. And this is Malone, which was handed over to the fit-out contractor on Monday. Just demonstrates some other 3D visuals taken directly out of the model. I'm going to pass you over to Sean now. He's going to quickly whiz through some of the other key benefits.
Hi, as Johnny said, I'm Sean McNiff, and I'm the implementation manager and an associate within the practice. And I'm going to be really looking at some of the more, some of the hands-on practical side of the benefits that we've identified and that we're looking at. So greater drawn office productivity, well, really that was a no-brainer for us. Revit is the software we use generally in the business, and it was a no-brainer that it made our job more efficient in the office. This little video here just shows that all of the information is contained within one model, as most people here know, and that you just take various views out of that model to show different bits of information. So on the left is a 3D section, on the top right is a plan view, bottom left is a ceiling plan, bottom right is another view, which is an accommodation schedule. You move something in one view, it's going to move it in the other view. changes your accommodation schedule, changes the areas, you change the ceiling type in one view, it changes in all views. So that's just really, just showing the direct, immediate benefits to the office for us. It obviously allows us a bit more time to think about the design, reduce design risk maybe, and improve the reliability, and also increase the pace of change. The next video just shows again, in a retail scenario, this is Durham drawing a balustrade, and initially this was briefed as an 1100 high balustrade, but due to the fact that the retail layout meant that there was seating quite close by, we had to increase that to 1500 high, and very quickly, with the use of parameters, we could just change that very quickly up and down and things like that. So that's just another quick example. The next benefit really is we found is coordination in fits first time. The enhanced spatial coordination and fewer errors. This example on the screen here is H&M Bloomfield, which we were involved with structurally, and what this was used for, it was more from a visual perspective, but it was quite a complex building in terms of the structure. Foundations that were cantilevered and things like that, and really that helped the contractor to visualise what they had to do before they got to site, and the contractor said after the job that it actually reduced the number of RFIs to do with the structural aspects of it, so it benefited at that stage. Then this really, Ashton Moss Manchester, really was the first job in 2011 that we actually took on with Marks and Spencer's to sort of generate a BIM model from, and this was our first venture into it. We were working with WSP, a consultant based over in England, and they're international, and they've been doing it for a long time, and they were able to generate an existing structural model that we could use to incorporate then the new design. So this was an existing shell, and we put a mezzanine into it, and it very quickly enabled us to, I suppose, bring the existing and the proposed together and come up with a design and initial proposals to the brief very quickly. This is Malone, which Johnny has alluded to. It was handed over the other day, and this is really where we're at now. The building in shell format was laser scanned. As you can see, this is a fly-through of the site from a laser scan then into a Revit model, an existing Revit model, which it was a co-op store before they have moved out now, and M&S are taking the unit on. So that went from an existing model with the structural design there, the existing design showing demolitions, and then the new design coming into that. So that's just really an animation to show how we went from the laser scanning, the digital verification of the asset into now the new proposals. And the fit out has started there on Monday on that. It's a very quick program, 5-week program, opening in the middle of June. Then onto some of the Navisworks stuff we've been working on M&S Durham. We worked with the contractor to develop up the M&E design, and we were able to actually, two of the subcontractors, the refridge and the mechanical subcontractor, took that on, designed their various their systems, and then we were able to manage the clash detection process, producing markups on Navisworks and also clash reports. The guys have alluded to already some of the mobile technologies that can be used. Again, we trialled the use of Autodesk BIM 360 Field on M&S Durham, and the contractors were able to use on their iPads a digital version of the model, which was synced to a central database to actually view the information while they were on site. We also used it to bring some of the M&S stakeholders onto site and actually to show them. We went into the empty shell before the fit out started, and we were able to walk them around the site and show them what that site would actually look like once it was fitted out, to give them an idea of where they were and if there was anything that needed to be picked up at that stage before the fit out started. So again, it can be used for numerous things, such as providing checklists, health and safety audit information, right down to putting asset information on equipment barcodes and then being able to scan those barcodes and get all of the asset information on the iPad in the field. That slide just shows again some of the checklists that we were trialing. So that's a health and safety checklist, a permit to work. All your sort of training that you would need to go through before going onto site. You could do that type of thing using that software. Sketches and markups and photos and just quick bits and pieces that while you're on site, just taking a snapshot and marking up photos and then syncing them back to the extranet online was very, very useful as well. And creating snag lists, so that just shows that you can actually create the snag list digitally on the model, tag various aspects of the model, and then give them a location, give them a time, give them the responsibility to a particular party, and that's all digital and instant back to all parties. And then some of the design review that we did using Navisworks. So that was image there is just running an avatar actually through the site, doing a digital walkthrough through the site to pick up if there's any issues or spatial problems in areas like plant rooms or under stairs where you have low head heights and things like that. And then we also looked at very briefly, attaching the health and safety information to the model. The next benefit is enhanced optimization and optioneering. And this example, what we were able to do is, initially the client brief was to, there was a mezzanine in the rear area which accommodated staff areas and a plant room. And the initial brief was to demolish that completely and install a new mezzanine which was on structural columns to a grid which facilitated the retail layout to give a bit more flexibility. But what we were able to do is actually look at the two options, that option and also an option to retain the existing mezzanine, do some minor alterations, but actually visualize it, if it was possible to do that and to maintain the retail layout that the client would need, but also schedule out differences in demolitions, differences in new material requirements, and produce costs on that as well. So that image shows basically the difference between the two options, red showing the demolitions there, and that goes through a series of phases of once it's demolished, and then the areas of new build. So we scheduled the areas of new build and the difference in quantity of materials that would need to be put into that building. So based on those, that sort of exercise, we actually went with the option to retain the existing mezz, and the retail layout was able to be maintained to the requirements of the client there. Just another example, again, Johnny may touch on this later on in the rest of his slides, but this is another example of a non-retail unit option where we had to look at different options to respond to the site constraints. So there are just three examples of the same option or of the same building. Then advanced scheduling and use of big data. Again, what we've done with Marks and Spencer's particularly, we've developed up M&S have developed some of their family content, and there's a database of content that they have there, but it's been taken to a certain stage and left at that. We, on Durham Arneson, we actually developed further some of the equipment, and the retailers for clothing area and the GM areas, they would have merchandising panels that they run right around the perimeter of their store to hang their clothes on. We were able to schedule that information out by modelling a Revit family, a parametric family, and then we're running that right around the perimeter of the store, and adding parameter data to that, and then scheduling out the amount of panels that were needed for the store, and that could obviously go into the procurement side of the business to procure the panels. So this just shows, landing the panels in, parametrically changing the length of the run of panels. It gives you the different quantities, and you can change that, and it automatically updates in the schedule data. And then some of the other areas of scheduling and big data that we've looked at, energy analysis. So obviously that's extremely important to all clients, but maybe particularly retail clients where there's quite high energy use while their stores are operating. So again, we've looked at the information that goes into the Revit model and how that information can be then analysed using proprietary software. Autodesk have their own inbuilt energy analysis software, but we also try the use of IES software as well. Some path analysis, so for things like the cafe areas where they've got vast areas of glazing and you may have winter solar glare that would be unwanted in a cafe environment, we were able to run some path analysis on the buildings to determine whether they needed blinds or louvers or some sort of solar shading devices. And then we're also looking at the use of COBE spreadsheets, again on M&S Malone, where we're trying to get as much of the data into the model and format it in a way that can be utilised and it doesn't drop off the cliff once we hand that information over to the client. And COBE is one way of doing that, obviously. And then non-retail related, some of the stuff our civil and structural engineering guys are looking at, using big data for cut and fill schedules and for some of the roadway schemes and railway schemes and bridge designs to do things like hydrometric data, flood data that would input into their models and in their analysis and ultimately their designs. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is digital verification of existing and newly constructed assets. So really what we're talking about is laser scanning and creating point clouds of existing assets and then utilising that to input into the management of the stores, the redesign and the reuse of stores. A couple of examples shown on the screen there are Malone, the internal plant room area on the top left and the overall site in the top right, and then Primark Bank buildings on the bottom, which was really the first scheme that we looked at laser scanning, and the external of the building was laser scanned and then used to create a Revit model. So that's the existing building, and that's it in its point cloud format after it's been laser scanned, to turn it into a Revit model, to be able to use that then for the work that was done in the extension works and into the feasibility work and various bits and pieces that we looked at for the pulling together of the design for the planning application, which is what you see on the screen there. I'm going to hand you back over to Johnny, who'll do the last bit of the presentation.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, we're probably getting a bit tight on time, so I'll whiz through these last few slides as quickly as I can. The last few really is all to do with process, and that's something I'm very keen on. And we have analysed the new REBA plan of work and also the PAS 1192. And the image you see there on the right is actually our suggested process map for how to start and finish and do that continuous loop on an M&S Simply Food. So I say that was our draft suggestion, and we're engaging with M&S to see whether that's of benefit and it can be taken forward. Then with the new REBA plan of work, obviously there's the toolbox where we can generate our own project role tables. Anybody that hasn't used this, you should have a look at it. It's a useful tool. So you clearly clarify and stipulate who does what and to which level of definition, when and how. Some literature that we found very useful as part of the exercise of trying to understand what this is all about are the various documents shown there as produced by REBA. Then looking right at early design stages for an M&S shell, it's a generic model that we've produced, LOD 1, and that's to try and demonstrate to developers who are building shells for M&S to take on are the key things that we need to look at right at an early design stage, building form, adjacencies, access and movement, building envelope and space allocation. And there's no need to move on to the next level of detail until we got those bottomed out. In a similar way, on the dental practice that Sean had demonstrated earlier, we brought together design team members who are of a similar mindset to ourselves and really wanted to look at, if we're doing this from scratch, what's the best way to go about it. So it's looking at an existing site, assessing how much sort of volume that site can absorb, and then taking it up to the next level of detail to actually find whether your schedule of accommodation is possible to land it within that space with all the various constraints, and if not, how do you stretch and pull and tweak things to get it to work. So in other words, are you dealing with a 2-story building or a 3-story building? If it's 3-story, you're going to get planning consent for it. So getting that sort of organised and set out very early on, we just refer to as BIM briefing. So the final benefit, the Holy Grail, we've put up the link there to the BIM Task Group website and the lessons learned on the Manchester Central Library. Not going to go into the detail of that, but it's well worth a look if you haven't done so already, just comparing a traditional method against using BIM. And really that's where we want to go to next with the Malone store. And as Sean had said, the contractor's already started to land the M&E content there, and we're engaging with the FM contractor to see, right, how do you actually need this information at handover, how are you going to use it. Finally then, we've just put up some, our top 10 tips to whoever you may be, if you're a client, a contractor, or a business. You need to understand what BIM means to your business and get board and director buy-in to its adoption. I'm not going to read through every one there, you can read that for yourselves, but I'll just quickly go through to the end point, which is to share and collaborate with your fellow suppliers, because what goes around comes around. And finally, we're going to finish on a video which is not retail, it's commercial. It's actually the offices for land and property services where we did the fit out, and it was used to show the staff where they were going to be sitting within the building and give them an idea of the environment. That appeared to be the 12-inch version of that video. So that is us, folks. Hopefully that has been of some benefit to you, and I'd just like to say thank you very much indeed.